Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Atirah binti Azahari. I will be starting our presentation. So our group choose refugees as our main topic of our presentation. First, I will define what refugees mean. So basically, refugees could be defined as person or people that escape from their own country because of war, terror, discrimination, dispute or oppression. By crossing the foreign country's border. So they have to leave everything behind in order to search for their own safety. So according to the United Nations of High Commissioner of Refugees, they define refugees as someone who is unable or unwilling to return to their own country or stay at their own country because of afraid of being persecuted because of multiply of reasons such as race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and etc. So by the end of 2017, there are about 25.4 million of men, women, and also children that are registered as refugees worldwide. So our group will focus more about the refugees of the Rohingya people. So basically, the Rohingya people are the stateless of Indo-Aryan ethnic group that practice Islam as their own religion and live in Rakhine State, Myanmar. These Rohingya people are face discrimination and oppression from the Myanmar government, where they have been denied their own citizenship under the 1982 citizenship law, where there are about 900,000 of them that currently live in the Bangladesh camp, where the majority of them are the ones who escape. So approximately there are about 600,000 of them that are still live in Rakhine State, Myanmar, where they have to face the Myanmar government violence and persecution, where they have been locked up in camps and village with no access of food, healthcare, education, and no freedom of movement.
My name is Afiqah Bahirah, and I will be responsible to explain the background of the issue of our topic, which is refugee. So our group has decided to focus on Rohingya refugees in Malaysia as the title to discuss under refugee. So one of the reasons that made Rohingya refugee come to Malaysia is because after Malaysia gained independence, Malaysia has been one of the most popular places for this Rohingya refugee to just stay or even to live permanently in our country. And since then, our country has been a transit and also a recipient country for a political refugee. The statistic from United Nations High Commission for Refugee UNCHR in Malaysia has reported that there are 178 and 920,000 numbers of refugees as of 2021 of March. But then it was most likely to be higher than that because there are some of the refugees that are not registered under the UNCHR. So the background issue of the Rohingya refugees in Malaysia are stated by Ahmad et al. In 2016. He mentioned that the majority of the refugees come from Rohingya are the denied Burmese citizenship and actually are subjected and are being targeted to violence and also persecution by their government itself. In 2016, Malaysia has decided to start it and open the way for this refugee to seek asylum in Malaysia because of the fact that Malaysia is a Muslim community country, so they stand as a solidarity for these Rohingya refugees. And then After the Rohingya refugees are being allowed in Malaysia, Malaysia started to give them aid and also help by giving them places for education, places for them to live, and even a better opportunity for them where they actually live in Malaysia, even if it's not their own country. So that's the background issue of the Rohingya refugees in Malaysia. Moving on, I will be explaining about the impact of this issue toward the international relations. So one of the remarkable impact of Rohingya refugee in Malaysia is that they has caused an influx of refugee in Malaysia, where the number of Rohingya refugee are keep on overflowing and increasing within every year. And these are the point and the impact that I am going to be relating to the international relations. So because of this, Rohingya refugees in Malaysia impact has been going out of control. There are a cooperative action made between two body organizations that are important, and the first one is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is ASEAN, and then the United Nations itself, which is UN. Because of this impact, they has come to join hands and therefore has made the UNCHR submitted their request to the Southeast Asian government to make sure that they will conduct a rescue operation for this Rohingya refugee, and also to make sure that for this Asian country to keep their borders open for refugees that are stranded at the sea, and not only telling Malaysia to keep their borders but also other Asian countries. Other than that, this issue also has caused an impact for Malaysia, where Malaysia has stated that they are not accepting any refugee from Myanmar anymore. As an evidence, looking back at the recent Asian Summit, which was held last year, Malaysia Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has mentioned that Malaysia are not going to accept the refugee from Myanmar itself, and also mentioned that he wanted the other Asian member, and also United Nations itself to help each other and encourage each other to helping resolving the crisis skill of refugee in Myanmar. Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin also mentioned that refugees are actually not considered as illegal immigrant in Malaysia, and actually not a part of the law of Malaysia that are deserving of any right. So that is why this impact has caused international relations where Malaysia are not going to accept refugee anymore, and also because of the fact that Malaysia are not a part of the UN Convention on Refugee, where Malaysia are not going to take any responsibility anymore. Therefore, this refugee, if they keep staying on Malaysia, they are going to face a risk of arrest and also as illegal immigrant in Malaysia. So that's all the impact of the issue toward the international relations.
Alright, so my name is Fatini. I'll be continuing where my teammates have left off. So for my part, I'll be explaining about how the UN has helped the refugee crisis and what are their roles. So the first thing that I would like to explain is how the UN actually has a smaller agency under them that is named United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, and they are mandated to handle several issues regarding refugees, and therefore the UN mostly uses them as a channel to help refugees. And although it's the big name is the UN, actually the UNHCR is mainly the ones who are helping with the refugee issues, but overall we can still call them the UN. And the first step that the UN actually did to help the Rohingya people was actually by raising funds to aid and protect them from persecution by their own government. As we know, they are left in a very vulnerable state as they are on the run. They don't have protection, they don't have a home, they don't have enough food. On top of that, the UN is also responsible for voluntary repatriation, local integration, and resettlement of refugees. And since there's so many refugees that has took cover in Bangladesh, over 800,000 Rohingya refugees has taken cover there, the UN has actually tried to help them by helping the Bangladeshi government by aiding them with humanitarian needs and with resettlement programs. And since there's a large amount of them, the Bangladeshi government does need help from the UN. And according to the UNHCR spokesperson, Andre Mahajit, the 2021 Joint Response Plan has been joined by Bangladesh to help resettlement plans of thousands of Rohingya refugees in the Cox's Bazar district in Bangladesh. So that's one of the resettlement plans that the UN has set for the Rohingya refugees. And there are other resettlement areas that has been set up in Bangladesh, and this is just one of them, one of the biggest of them. And this is also helped and aided by 134 other UN agencies and also other NGO partners that the UN has worked with. So, and finally, the least substantial help but still significant help by the UN has contributed is by publicly condemning Myanmar's government actions towards the Rohingya people, where they are stripped of their human rights abused, and they were ripped away from their families, and also they were stripped of their citizenship rights and rendering them stateless, and therefore they can't afford medical care, or they can't have a healthy living life like a normal person in Myanmar should have. And they were also made against crime like torture and rape, and they being stuck in detention camps. And according to New York Times 2019, the General Assembly of the UN has collectively voiced that the crisis is actually a very gross human rights violation, and it abuses the Rohingya Muslim, and it is undoubtedly the gravest crime under international law, which is something that I think we all should agree upon, because we can see the atrociousness that the Rohingya people has faced in Myanmar. And so this public combination is important as it highlights and spread awareness regarding the atrocities that the Rohingya people has faced, and therefore encourages more people to lend in a help in as well, because this issue has been made public and made aware by the uses of social media and everything. So the UN publicly condemning them makes people more aware of the situation, the dire situation that the Rohingya people are facing right now and still are facing right now. And this might spark more hope for them to lend in a bit of help, whether it's monetary needs or whether they're volunteering to help them resettle in a new place. So that's the third action that the UN has taken. So conclusively, these are some of the actions that UN has taken to solve the global problem of refugees. In specific is the Rohingya refugee crisis, and these actions has been taken since 2017, since that's when the violence has started to increase a lot more. So this situation is very complicated, and the UN is still operating various programs with its partners persistently to de-escalate the crises. But it's still not enough, because the Rohingya people are still suffering right now, and the UN is trying to help as much as they could with their partners, and hopefully they will still continue to do so and increase the efforts even more to help the people of Rohingya. That's all from me.
Hello and good day. I am Sarah, and I will explain a little bit on the relation between NGOs and also the IGO. Moreover, their relations and their roles towards the problem related. According to Oxford Languages, a non-governmental organization, which is NGO, is a non-profit organization that operates independently of any government. Typically, one whose purpose is to address a social or political issue. They contribute to the empowerment and development of our community. To add on, they also raise, create, and manage their own funds through public donations and contributions. But on the other hand, the word intergovernmental organization, which is IGO, it refers to a treaty-created organization that brings together two or more nations to collaborate on matters of mutual concern in good faith. IGOs are traditionally grouped around their membership and their goal. For example, the United Nations is referred to as a global organization, and all countries are allowed membership. However, non-governmental organizations differ from IGOs, and as a result, NGOs receive some of their funding from private sources, but IGOs are financially and politically supported by their members, which is why they have the membership. Nevertheless, in Malaysia, non-governmental organizations have a variety of responsibilities in assisting refugees, such as Rohingya, particularly those with serious illnesses and in need of a place to live. The role of the United High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, in guiding non-governmental organizations in Malaysia in providing international protection and long-term solution with government policy cooperation will be discussed, as there are a set of rules set by the government in Malaysia. Although IGOs do not really fund the refugees as they focus more on the superior memberships. On the contrary, under the Malaysian law, refugees are not distinguished from undocumented migrants and are therefore vulnerable to arrest or to be arrested, detention, persecution, whipping, and deportation. In light of the lack of administrative provisions for refugees, UNHCR conducts all activities related to reception, registration, documentation, and status determination towards Rohingya refugees. According to the UNHCR Global Report 2009, UNHCR doing programs for refugees. UNHCR, together with its NGO partners such as the Islamic Medical Association of Malaysia, Muslim Relief Agency, and Mercy Malaysia, are collaborating with district health officers to reach out to the Rohingya refugee communities. To conclude, with the help of UNHCR, the Rohingya can live well with documents and registrations under the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Although Malaysia has strict rules on the refugees, over time it has loosened slowly. However, Malaysia is not a party to the UN Refugee Convention and does not have an asylum system regulating the status and rights of refugees, according to UNHCR.
Hello, my name is Mohd Aliff Faishal. I will be talking about our personal opinion. The world is only five. Those are the referred to the nations which hold the veto power towards every single action of the UN. All it takes to veto a decision is only one nation. In today's politics, where volatile political standings takes place in the shadows, those major powers of World War II gravitate towards their own materialistic needs, abandoning the goal to peacekeeping around the world. Most refugees from either third world country or unstabilized nations uh, are heavily impacted by this action of the UN for being always being put to the halt due to the veto power system being adopted in it. To hope for the UN to play their role is a drain due to only five nations having the power to decide. They will either be put to halt for many reasons. Some might be Chinese Communist bloc saying that they couldn't do it because it is an internal issue for the case of Rohingya people. The capitalist bloc might say that helping refugees will open the chance for those so-called terrorists to get into their country, just like France and many other regions that could emerge from the world leaders. In the end, it's up to us, the second-class global citizens, to help them. We might not have the power to bring them into our house, live with them, but we could say that we could give them necessities whenever they pass by our place, or spread awareness of the root of why they migrated in the first place. The push factor from their countries also count when you are spreading the awareness for this case. As someone who amounts to nothing in a world filled with other billions of people just like us, we should help these people that are seeking help and asylum from us instead of turning back from that.
In conclusion, the Rohingya crisis of genocide by the Myanmar's government has been going on since forever and has not yet been settled. So the UN should play their own part because it involves human rights and they are seriously violating Rohingyas people's human rights. So according to the Human Rights Watch, the Myanmar's government repeatedly violating basic civil and political rights of Rohingyas people. They also failed to hold their military accountable for atrocities against these minorities. Not just UN should play their own part, even the member of UN can play their part by in terms of giving asylum when they are in search for safety in our country, or giving them medical treatments, or you can speak up and condemn the Myanmar's government action of violating these people's human rights. So instead of turning our eyes blind and not helping these people, we should use our power to protect and speak up for them, because if not us, who are going to protect and speak up for these refugees? So that is all from our group. Thank you.